Hello and welcome to our topic skepticism. In this short video, sorry, it's not going to be a short video. I think it's going to be a little bit long video. We will talk about skepticism. We will talk about the definitions, features of skepticism, and we will also talk about skepticism in various fields like philosophical skepticism, religious skepticism, and scientific skepticism. But in this video, we will just limit ourselves to the introduction of skepticism and only philosophical skepticism. I hope you will patiently listen, keep listening to this video, and you will get some informative theory on skepticism. Now, let's see what is skepticism. Skepticism is a questioning attitude or doubt toward knowledge, claims that are seen as mere belief or dogma. For example, if a person is skeptical about claims made by their government about an ongoing or the person doubts that these claims are accurate. In such cases, skeptics normally recommend not disbelief but suspension of belief. That means maintaining a neutral attitude that neither affirms nor denies the claim. This attitude is often motivated by the impression that the available evidence is insufficient to support the claim. Formally, skepticism is a topic of interest in philosophy, particularly epistemology. More informally, skepticism as an expression of questioning or doubt can be applied to any topic such as politics, religion, or pseudoscience. It is often applied with restricted domains such as morality, moral skepticism, atheism, that means skepticism about the existence of God or the supernatural. Some theorists distinguish good or moderate skepticism, which seeks to strong evidence before accepting a position, from bad or radical skepticism, which wants to suspend judgment indefinitely. Philosophical skepticism is one important form of skepticism. It rejects knowledge. Knowledge claims that seem certain from the perspective of common sense. Radical forms of philosophical skepticism deny that knowledge or rational belief is possible and, and urge us to suspend judgment on many or all controversial matters. More moderate forms claim only that nothing can be known with certainty, or that we can know little or nothing about non empirical matters such as whether God exists, whether human beings have free will, or whether there is an afterlife. In ancient philosophy, skepticism was understood as a way of life associated with inner peace. Skepticism has been responsible for many important developments in science and philosophy. It has also inspired several contemporary social movements. Religious skepticism advocates for doubt concerning basic religious principles such as immortality, providence, and revelation. Scientific skepticism advocates for testing beliefs for reliability by subjecting them to systemic investigation using the scientific method to discover empirical evidence for them. So that's all about the introduction of skepticism. Now we will focus on philosophical skepticism. As a philosophical school or movement, skepticism arose both in ancient Greece and India. In India, the Ajnana school of philosophy espoused skepticism. It was a major early rival of Buddhism and Jainism, and possibly a major influence on Buddhism. Two of the foremost disciples of the Buddha, Sariputta and Magdalena, were initially students of Anjana philosopher Sanjaya Balathiputta. A strong element of skepticism is found in early Buddhism, most particularly in the Athakabha Sutra. However, the total effect these philosophies had on each other is difficult to discern. Since skepticism is a philosophical attitude and a style of philosophizing rather than a position, the Anjanis may have influenced other skeptical thinkers of India, such as Nagarjuna, Jayarshi Bhatta, and Sri Harsha. In Greece, philosophers as early as Xenophanes, about born about in 576 and died in 475 BC, expressed skeptical views, as did Democritus, and a number of sophists. Georgius, for example, reputedly argued that nothing exists, that even if there were something we could not know it, and that even we could know it, we could not communicate it. The Heraclitean philosopher Caratilas refused to discuss anything and would merely wriggle his finger, claiming that communication is possible since meanings are constantly changing. Socrates also had skeptical tendencies, claiming to nothing worthwhile. There were two major schools of skepticism in the ancient Greek and Roman worlds. The first was Pyrrhonism, founded by Philo of Elis, who was born on about 360 and died on about 270 BCE. The second was academic skepticism, so called because its two leading defenders, Arcesilas, who was born on about 315 and died on about 240 BCE, who initiated the philosophy, and Sarniades, born on about in about 217 and died in about 128 BC. The philosophy's most famous proponent were heads of Plato's academy. Pyrrhonism's aims are psychological. It urges suspension of judgment or epoch to achieve mental tranquility or ataraxia. The academic skeptics denied that knowledge is possible at catalepsy. The academic skeptics claimed that some beliefs are more reasonable or probable than others, whereas Pyrrhonian skeptics argue that equally compelling arguments can be given for or against any disputed view. Nearly all the writings of the ancient skeptics are now lost. Most of what we know about ancient skepticism is from Sextus Empiricus, a Pyrrhonian skeptic who lived in the 2nd or 3rd centuries CE. His works contain a lucid summary of stock skeptical arguments. Ancient skepticism faded out during the late Roman Empire, particularly after Augustine, born on 354 and died in 430 CE, attacked the skeptics in his work against the academics, published in 386 CE. There was little knowledge of or interest in ancient skepticism in Christian Europe during the Middle Ages. Interest revived during the Renaissance and Reformation, particularly after the complete writings of Sextus Empiricus were translated into Latin in 1569 and after Martin Luther's skepticism of holy orders. A number of Catholic writers, including Francisco Sanchez, born in about 1550 and died in about 1623. Michael the Montaigne, born in 1533 and died in 1592. Pierre Gassendi, born in 1592 and died in 1655. And Marin Marceni, born in 1588 and died in 1648, deployed ancient skeptical arguments to defend moderate forms of skepticism and to argue that fate rather than reason must be the primary guide to truth. In his influential historical and critical dictionary, Milton described An influential response was offered by the French philosopher and mathematician René Descartes, who was born in 1596 and died in 1650. In his classic work, Meditations of First Philosophy, which was published in 1641, Rene Descartes sought to refute skepticism, but only after he had formulated the case for skepticism as powerfully as possible. Descartes argued that no matter what radical skeptical possibilities we imagine, there are certain truths, as for example, that thinking is occurring or that I exist, that are absolutely certain. Thus, the ancient skeptics were wrong to claim that knowledge is impossible. Descartes also attempted to refute skeptical doubts about the reliability of our senses, our memory, and other cognitive faculties. To do this, Descartes tried to prove that God exists and that God would not allow us to be systematically deceived about the nature of reality. Many contemporary philosophers question whether this second stage of Descartes' critique of skepticism is successful. In the 18th century, a new case of skepticism was offered by the Scottish philosopher David Hume, who was born in 1711 and died in 1776. Hume was an empiricist, claiming that all genuine ideas can be traced back to original impressions of sensation or introspective consciousness. Hume argued that on empiricist grounds, there are no sound reasons for belief in God, an enduring self or soul, an external world, causal necessity, objective morality, or inductive reasoning. In fact, he argued that philosophy would render us entirely Pyrrhonian were not nature too strong for it. As Hume saw it, the real basis of human belief is not reason but custom or habit. We are hardwired by nature to trust, say, our memories or inductive reasoning, and no skeptical arguments, however powerful, can dislodge those beliefs. In this way, Hume embraced what he called a mitigated skepticism while rejecting an excessive Pyrrhonian skepticism that he saw as both impractical and psychologically impossible. Hume's skepticism provoked a number of important responses. Hume's Scottish contemporary Thomas Reid, who was born in 1710 and died in 1796, challenged Hume's strict empiricism and argued that it is rational to accept common sense beliefs such as the basic reliability of our senses, our reason, our memories, and inductive reasoning, even though none of these things can be proved. In Reid's view, such common sense beliefs are foundational and require no proof in order to be rationally justified. Not long after Hume's death, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, who was born in 1724 and died in 1804, argued that human empirical experience has possibility conditions which could not have been realized unless Hume's skeptical conclusions about causal synthetic that reason is perceived as an enemy of mystery and ambiguity, but if used properly, can be an effective tool for solving many larger societal issues. So simply, that's all about really philosophical skepticism. Uh, uh, just like as the beginning of my introduction, I told you about there are several skepticisms: philosophical skepticism, religious skepticism, and scientific skepticism. But in this video, we have limited ourselves only to the discussion and to the focusing on philosophical reasoning. And while discussing this philosophical skepticism, we had alluded to various uh, philosophers from the time of ancient Greek Roman, from the time of Indian ancient period to modern Immanuel Kant. So I hope you have enjoyed, and if you get some more informative and educative videos like these ones. Please browse all other videos in this channel. And lastly, the talkings that I always say is that you have to be healthy, you have to be wise for being a responsible and dutiful citizen of your country. So, have a sleep of at least 7 hours to 9 hours in the 24-hour day, and have a good and balanced diet, nutritious food, and have physical exercise regularly. And simply walking is the best, easiest, and cheapest exercise. I hope you will stay safe, and hoping you good health. I would like to say you goodbye and wishing you all to watch all other videos in this channel. Thank you. Bye bye. Waiting for you to watch other videos to tune in. Thank you.